I'm going to do half her face for a large stage. I'm going to do the other half for more of an intimate stage. And the age range is probably about 60, 70 or whatever. So I just wanted to show you guys more dramatic differences. Again, if you're going to be doing a character that's in the 50s, you wouldn't be as dramatic with the lines. It'd be softened a little bit. But for this purposes, I just want to have you guys see the difference, okay? So the first step that you're going to do is you're going to always start with your foundation. The foundation will help the highlight and shading colors blend properly. Because if you just actually ended up doing highlight and shading on top of her skin right now, it would be a little blotchy. It may not look as intense, so the foundation is really important to start with that. In your kit, you just pick the foundation that works best for you, or some of you may have to mix your colors to create your foundation. Now, when you're doing old age, I would suggest if your foundation, you have a choice between a little darker or a little lighter, I'd always go a little lighter because that also ages you. I'm going to apply with a brush. You can apply with a sponge that you have in your kit. It's up to you, but I'm going to actually use both sponges and a brush. Okay, so I'm just taking my makeup foundation, taking this one right there, and I'm putting it on the palette. And you see what I'm doing with my makeup? I'm making sure the makeup is on both sides of my brush. Don't be afraid to mix the makeup in your brush, because when you do that, it disperses more evenly, and when you apply it on the face, it goes on more evenly. Because if you just do this and go like this, you can get blotchiness. You run the risk of that. So don't be afraid to get your makeup, work it in palette like this. Okay. And I'm just doing a sheer coat of foundation. And the reason why I do a sheer coat is that you're going to be putting makeup on top of it. It's going to get really thick. So you just need enough, just work as a barrier and be able to work with the highlight and shading colors. So you can see how sheer it is. And I go over on the eyelids too, because you're going to be putting highlight and shading on that. So you need that area to be able to blend. Now I'm working really fast. This is how fast you really need to work when you're doing for stage. Again, time is really important. You don't have much time. Okay, so now I've got her base done. And I'm not gonna powder. We're not gonna powder at all, because if I powdered, when I put my creams on, they're not gonna blend. So remember, you always do creams first, then you powder and set it. And then if you wanted to add more color to it, then you would add the colored powders on top of that. Okay, so these are the two colors that I'm going to use for the highlight and shading. And this is what came in your kit. Now you can see what I'm doing is I'm scraping the top. This is the best way to take your makeup off here. You don't need to go like this, and you don't need to be big chunks of makeup. Just a little bit like that, and start out like this first. And then if you need to add more, because if you start out too much, you waste it because you can't put it back in. And then I'm going to go back over and scrape like that. That's all I need so far. All right, so I'm going to start this side here. I'm going to do the big stage. I do like to use my sponges for this. Just like the brush, I'm working the makeup in and on the sponge like that. Okay? So I'm going to start with her cheeks. Remember, like right here, that we talked about contouring right here. I'm going to go down, and where I stop for shading contouring you here, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go all the way down, because this is the end of her cheekbone here, and I'm going to go down, make it very hollow. Stop, and I just kind of go down like that. See that? And I'm going to go do her temple here. And again, so I'm just going to take this and go like this. And remember I talked about how high this here, and it goes down like there's a little valley here on her forehead in the lecture. So I'm going to just take a little bit across here. Like that. And then I'm gonna kind of create her jowls. Again, I'm doing like this. And right on the edge, that's where I'm applying the makeup. So what I'm gonna do is go right like that, and go in, and go down like that. See that? How everything all likes to meet. So now at this point I got the base. I'm gonna go back and blend it a little bit. This is where I'm gonna use my brush to blend it. So what I'm gonna do is just find the edges. Now in the exercise where I highlight and shading color, I will, just like the same process of blending, this part here, I want to see that color. I don't want that to disappear. So what I'm doing is I'm blending where the foundation and here meet, I'm blending it. I'm pulling it out and I'm going like this because I'm going the opposite direction of where it was applied because that will break up the line. And also, now I've got makeup on this brush, I need to remove it because if I started blending somewhere now, another place on it, I'll be transferring this makeup in a little place that I don't want it to be. So you need to take the excess off. That's why, again, it's really important for you to have paper or something down that you can wipe your makeup off of. So that's what I'm gonna do now. So I got that's blended. You see how intense it is, but you don't see a harsh line like it did before? I'm gonna take this line, I'm going down because I created the line doing this. Now I'm going the opposite direction. Sometimes you may need to go the same direction because this line was a little uneven. If it's uneven, you can go with the direction and that will even it up. And I'm going up to soften it on the other side. Again, I'm not going over this intensity because I want to keep that. And another reason why I kind of use my sponge is that I don't have enough of these brushes to be able to apply and blend, because if you apply this brush, then you need a clean brush to blend. You could not use the same brush that you use to apply the makeup, so you need two. And I don't have another one, so that's why I was using sponges. Again, so you see, taking the excess off, cleaning it up. And now I want to like soften this. So I'm just going down, blends up, and blends up here. Nice and soft, without that harsh edge. I go back, I clean the brush. Now for here, so what I'm gonna do is I wanna just kind of bring this down. I'm kind of going the direction of the jawline just to even it out a little bit. And I'm going like here. Taking the excess off. See, I'm going opposite direction here. And I'm going to bring it down the jawline here. And I'm doing a little bit of circular motions too, to blend it, because I don't want to see this really harsh line. I want to just see a shadow. A little bit of the neck here. This is where the shadow would be here. Okay, so there you go. So that is kind of illusion of the restructuring of the face, the jowls here. You see how hollow she looks in her cheeks now? Now at this point, I'm gonna go back with highlight just to show you before I go into the major detail. Like I said, I like to start with shading and then go to highlight, but then I go back to shading and go back to highlight. Whatever works for you, do it. As long as the end result is what you want. So, so basically at this point, I'm working this in. And I'm going right above. And it's almost like I'm stippling it in. Remember the technique stippling? Tapping, tap, 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 tap. And then I'm gonna just put the highlight just right here. There's still gonna be foundation here. I'm not gonna cover the whole area, but I'm just going right above here. Then for highlight, I'm going to take highlight through here and here. It's almost like creating an L, and then the other side's the opposite L. You see that? Now I'm going to blend it. And I'm going to get a different brush. It's the same brush because I've got two of them, but it's clean. So you always want to make sure that your shading brushes and highlight brushes do not mix, because if they do, you'll get muddy colors. So now, I'll just start right here. I'm just gonna blend it a little bit, blend it in. Where those two colors meet, I'm kind of like doing little circular motions. I'm blending this out. And I'm removing any of the excess makeup that's on my brush. Now I'm barely having any pressure. You feel how there's almost no pressure? Mm-hmm. And I'm doing little circular motions where they both meet, that because I wanted those two colors to blend together. So more pressure you put on this, the brush and the skin, the more makeup will move around and more will come off. If you don't want to remove a lot of makeup, then you very lightly put pressure. Okay, so this way I'm going to go blend this up. And then I'm going to do circular motions so they blended it down. And then where these two meet, I'm doing circular motions here. You want to see natural skin right here. We don't want to see it all highlighted. You want to see the natural skin here. So that's why I usually go back in here again and just blend down the shading a little bit more and blend this a little bit more to see the natural skin. Okay, so now that we've got the basic structure of the face, the skull as I call it, we're gonna go to the details. And this is where I like to start from the eye work down. So at this point, I'm gonna use a detailed brush. I'm gonna use a brush like this for the detailed work, okay? And then I'm gonna probably use this brush for the highlight. They're both similar shape. I prefer to use brushes that have a flat tip as opposed to a round one when I'm doing these character lines, but if you don't, as long as it's flat and thin, you'll be fine. So I'm gonna go back and I'm going to take the shading. And again, I'm working the brush both sides. And I wanna make sure the brush is flat. I'm not just mixing it in and then the bristles are going everywhere. I wanna make sure it's flat like this, you see. Because if it's flat, it will go on a thinner line. If your brush bristles are like splayed out or separated, you won't get that crisp, clean line. So I'm going to have her do facial expressions to create those wrinkles. So what I do is I use the tip of the brush and I just go up like that and I bring it down here. If I ended up not putting that in the place of her natural eyebrows when she talked, it will stand out. That's why it's really important for you guys to put those lines in where your face will make those lines, even though you don't have them yet. So what I do is I do that, and then I take a little bit of the dark and I want to shade this part here. It's almost like I'm creating deep set eyes or small eyes. I'm almost creating that. And I'm just bringing it down like this. And this meets. And then I want to create the bag, her eye bag. Again, I take the makeup, I added more. And I'm making sure this line, the brush is nice and crisp and clean. It's thin. So this is what I want to give illusion it's sagging down even more, okay? So what I do is go right in the crease. Now I'm applying, as you see, I'm applying the tip. I'm not doing this. If I did this, it'd be a wider line. I just want a thin line. This is why I like the flat end of the brushes. Go down, follow it. Counterintuitive, you guys want to lift up. I'm going down. Like that. Get you closer up there. So that is bringing that down. Doesn't it look like she's tired too? Uh-huh. All right, so I'm gonna get some more makeup and I'm gonna give her bags. Now I can see she's gonna be a little hollow there, but she's got a little bag here. So we're gonna do that. We're gonna take this, pull it out here. She's gonna be hollow and she's gonna have a little bag. Now I usually have the line thicker here. That's why I'm applying it with the brush on the side. But once I get to here, I lift it up and I want a nice thin line. And it's almost like it's meeting where this line ends. You see? Okay, so that's generally the shape of the eye socket, okay? So now I'm gonna go back in with highlight. Okay, so do this, you get both sides here. And did you know that these brushes are paint brushes? Okay, so now I want to give the illusion she's really got a brow bone that's really puffy. So I'm using the side of this flat. There we go, like that. But I want it more intense here, not so much here. So that's why it's a little lighter color here. See that? Then I want to create this part here to make it look like it's really, her 11s are really standing out. So it's really intense right here. And then I blend it out. Okay, then I'm gonna go back and do her bag. What I'm gonna have you do is look up. Now, again, this is why I like the tip flat, because I start where I create that dark line and I go like this. I start from the end and I go in. You can go across too, that works great too, but this gives you a crisper, cleaner line, and then you can go back over. Now I don't put the white all the way up here. I just want it right close to where the line is. There we go. Okay, I'm gonna get closer there. There we go. So that's basically the shape of the eye. And what I also like to do is take a little bit of the highlight just right here, the center. I'm just tapping it on here. There you go. So there you go. So that is kind of the highlight and shading structure. So now I'm going to go back in and get a blending brush. So I'm going to take, this is a good little blending brush. So now, I'm going to start here. And sometimes you may have to go back in with the fine line if you blended too much, which I did. So I'm just going to go back like this. And then I'm going to have you look up. Okay, close your eyes. Again, I'm taking the excess off because I don't want it to spread any more. You can see most of the highlights right here. There's no highlight here. You still want to see the natural skin. It's kind of like here. You don't see any highlight here. It's the space of the natural skin, just right here and here. And then I'm going to take this and blend this down a little bit more because I don't want it to be a line, but I want it shady. And you can see there's not all those fine details like the crow's feet. At this point, I'm going to do the nasolabial folds. All right, so because she doesn't have any, I'm going to have her do this. All right, so then you're going to follow that line and stop here. I usually like to take the tip here and go right around the nose area to continue that line. All right, relax. You see, so when she talks, it's going to go in her own line, so it won't look phony if it was not in the right spot. Again, you'll notice that it would not be a realistic old age. So then I go back in. This is where I kind of like to blend it a little bit before I do the highlight. And also, if the line is darker, thicker here, it tapers out down here. Because the lines always taper out, so you don't want to have these blunt lines, you want them to be thin. Basically what I'm doing is I'm just kind of blending it out. You see how it just tapered out? Then for her mouth, you can kind of see it go down here. So what I would do is, again, use the tip of the brush. You line it with this and you kind of bring it. I always darken this area here. And then I always like to do a little bit darkness through here. I'm not doing those fine lines, but this just gives you illusion of an older mouth. And also, usually your lips start becoming a little thinner, so I usually like to take a little dark and kind of thin out the lips a little bit. And I'm just taking this and just giving you a nose. All right, so now I'm gonna go back with highlight. And this is where you take the tip and go about like that. You see that? If you had a rounded brush, you couldn't do that because this really cuts in the line. And then I take a little bit right there. And then I go back here. Now this side is not as intense as the other side. Now I'm going to blend. And very light pressure because I don't want to remove anything too much. Take the excess makeup off. Oh, I didn't highlight under the chin. Generally, I would highlight both sides, but I'll just do half like that. Yeah, let's just put a little bit of highlight. Kind of like how the fat side of your face when we were doing that exercise. I forgot about the forehead here. This is where you guys you start getting into trouble with racing stripe forehead lines. Lift up your eyebrows, like, yes, create those. Now you do that, hold that. Do it again. There you go, hold it. So this is where you'd see your own natural lines. If you started just drawing lines arbitrarily across, it's gonna look phony. So hold up again. And this is where you use the tip, and I don't go straight across. I kind of like break it up. Over here, there's another line right there. Okay, now relax. So you can see, it looks like that. It's broken. You look forward in there. Okay, you don't want to see a continual line because in nature, continual lines, it's not natural. It's always a little uneven. Yeah, so once you've got that, then I go back in with this and I just kind of thin it out and just taper it off. Again, I don't want it just to arbitrarily just end. And so I'm just kind of tapering off the ends. But I'm using the middle here as the thickness part. Does that look more natural? Now I'm going to go back over with the highlight. Again, it's not a total line, straight line. It's just kind of arbitrarily just getting some thickness, thinner. Before blending. Look at it. There we go. Then I'm going to go back and blend it. This is a basic good roadmap to follow for the really big stage. Now, if I wanted to give the illusion that this person had a ruddy complexion and stuff like that, I can go back over and create some textures with ruddiness, like broken capillaries or age spots and stuff like that, which you can do that, but I'm not going to do it for the demo. But I'm not going to powder right now. I'm going to do the other side and then I'll powder it once. But also do remember that when you powder, the powder will take a little bit of the intensity away. So this is a basic structure for like, you know, a 60-year-old, 70-year-old for a larger stage. This would look too much for an intimate stage. Let's say we're both acting together, it would not match. This is what I'm talking about, how your old age makeup should match with the other actors on stage, okay? Okay, I start the same way, creating the basic shape of the face, just like I did with over here, but I use less of it. I'm just going to come back over that. And now I'm working fast too. I'm working like how I really should be for stage, okay? You see, even though it's light, it's still matching the placement, okay? There you go. Yeah, this is how fast I have to work. And you can get this fast. The only place, like the eye area here, this is where I kind of almost like match, just because you really need the eyes to really look old. This is where I get a little bit more intense. Not quite the same intensity as here on this side, but not as light color as I do like the rest over here. If that makes sense to you guys. For your brow, there you go. Have you look up? I'm blending it. I'm gonna go back and add highlight. See how fast it is? You see how I'm just jumping around, highlight shading, you know, it's not an exact pattern. Apologize. Okay, I'm going to do the nasolabial folds area. We're more than halfway done. Like this. There we go. Okay, relax. I also hold my brushes in my hand, several at a time. It also helps for speed. See what this looks like here. Look straight at me. There we go. Kind of misjudge your lip over here because I was on the angle. I still had some makeup on this brush, so that's what I used. I didn't add any more makeup. I'm just going to go down the center here just to give you a little highlight here for the nose. Relax. Okay, that's it. Look how quick it is. Look at the difference. We'll go through. It's all in the same placement, but now look. We're acting, you see? It looks very similar, okay? It doesn't look like standing out versus, you know, see? You see what I mean when I'm talking about trying to measure the amount of makeup? So this side would be much more realistic. Let's say you're performing on the smaller stage. This would look like, oh, hello, honey, she's got makeup and looks fake, okay? So you have to remember how to pull it back. And again, what you see in here, the room, your dressing room, will be different on stage. So you still may have to tweak it a bit, but you don't know until you're out there. Okay, so now I'm gonna powder. I wanna be careful about applying the powder. You don't wanna rub it, okay? Because if you rub it, you're gonna remove all those lines, because right now it's very greasy. You touch it, you can smear it. I'm taking the powder puff and I'm rolling it. I'm pushing it in. You see, I'm not doing this, because if I did this, I would lose all those lines. Okay, so you see how it's soaking in, but if you're also looking at it, it's not as intense either. Okay, so now that I've put most of it in, I'm taking a powder brush to brush off the excess. There we go. So that is the basic old age, like 70, 60, and that's the same thing, but that's for a small stage. See the difference, what I'm talking about, you guys? All right, and see how it did fade a bit? Yeah. So when you are doing character lines and you really want it intense and it fades this too much, then what I would do is after I powdered it, I'd actually go back in with an eyeshadow that, or powder, sculpting powder that's very similar to that, and go over it again and intensify it. That's how I would fix it. So let's say you did go on stage and you're washed out, you can come back in the dressing room and then get, you know, and just intensify the colors with powder. You don't need to go back over with cream, because if you did that, then you'll run the risk of it getting really blotchy and it won't blend right. So that's where you would have to use your powders.